Welcome to the God Put Me Up on Game podcast with Kristen R. Harris, where God shares all the good game because he wants you to win. This is the podcast for winners. Hey winners, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for coming down to the winner's circle for another dose of that good game. You already know the drill. I am so grateful. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for rocking with the podcast. Thank you for being a part of the winner circle. I so very much appreciate it. With that, I wanted to share a message. You guys know I love when you send me messages, when you leave reviews. Sometimes I don't see them right away. Let me just be honest, but I always get around to them, and I am so happy for any messages that you send. Let me just say this too, because I don't see them right away. Sometimes I miss the messages that you guys post in the Instagram stories, because you know that they go away after 24 hours. So if I've ever missed your message, I do apologize, because I do realize some of those I have missed. I caught them too late, and I'm always like, dang, I wanted to know what they said. So I apologize if I missed a shout out in your Instagram story, but I do appreciate you. This particular message was sent via DM on Instagram. It's from Brittany Diggins, and Brittany says, "Hey sis, I just wanted to reach out and let you know that your podcast has been blessing me. I heard you first on Right to Real Love and then start following a few months ago. In this season of my life, I was led to listen to you, and it was right on time. I'm about to start a podcast, and your episode on the mountain of media helped me. You're such an inspiration to me as a whole." And she goes on to say some other things. But Brittany, thank you so much. Congratulations and blessings on your new podcast. Would love to hear about it. See how we can support each other. I'm always grateful. And thank you for coming over from Right to Real Love. So those of you who heard the episode that I did with Jay a couple of months ago, you want to go back and listen to that if you did not. Jay is the host of Right to Real Love, and it's always a great time when we get together. And so I thank you so much for following me from over there for my interview on his podcast. And I actually, Jay is always making great connections. I have a special guest coming up in the near future that he actually connected me with. And so I can't wait for you to hear from this awesome woman. And I'm sure she's going to bring so much game and drop so many gems. So shout out to the homie Jay for making all the connections. Thank you so much, guys. And if you have not listened to his podcast, as I said, go check him out. Right to Real Love. You will be blessed. You will be blessed. All right. So I want to get into it. I want to get into this good game. Wait. Pause. I cannot get on this mic and not take a minute to just bask in the glory of this moment. You all know that we have elected our first Black woman vice president. And I got to pause and say congratulations to Kamala. There's a Harris headed to the White House. You know, that's a hashtag I saw. I know that she won't be living there, but she'll definitely be working there. So shout out to Kamala and congratulations to her. We did it, y'all. We did it. And I know that there is still an uphill battle, and we're actually going to talk about that today. That is so funny. We are going to get into a few politics today. That is not something that I normally address here on the podcast, but you'll see in a second why God kind of impressed this on my heart, because it is so easy. It is so easy. The message of today, the game of today, is to really keep your eyes focused on what God said. Remember what he said to you. Remember the promises he made to you. It's really interesting. I said I was going to go back. At the beginning of the year, I posted a word that I felt that the Lord had given me regarding anyone who was turning 40 this year. I will actually be 40 in a couple of weeks. So thank you, Lord, for that blessing. But I shared a word that he shared with me. And it was, I think, in February when I shared it on social media, and so many people came into agreement with that word. And so I'm going to actually go back and find it, because I want to repost it and say, do you still believe this? Like, I know that this year has been full of so many ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And for some people, they feel like it's been full of just downs and valleys. But regardless of all of that, when you came into agreement with this word, do you still stand on it? Do you still believe it? And, going back to this whole election thing, let me just say this. I felt that the Lord was really showing me that this mountain of government was being crushed. And I've talked extensively about mountains of influence. If not on this podcast, as I told you guys, you really need to go back and watch the 7 Mountain Shakeup prayer summit that we did. We did it back in July. And it was just an idea. Literally, God was like, I need you to do this online prayer summit. I need 7 women to address these 7 mountains of influence and to pray into them, because they are coming down. They are being crumbled, because I am going to re-erect mountains that exude my glory, mountains that people who are secretly advancing my agenda, that they will hold positions on these mountains. And a lot of these moves are going to be very low key and very silent. People, it won't necessarily be the pastor or the preacher dominating on these mountains, but the agendas that are happening behind the scenes will be in line with what I desire to go out in the earth. And so one of those mountains, of course, is the mountain of government. And again, if you did not get an opportunity to listen, you want to go back and watch that. It's on my YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and just search up Kristen R. Harris. But I shared all of the videos from the prayer summit. And the one on the mountain of government was actually led by Elder Ranisha Anderson. And she did a really great job of breaking down that mountain, breaking down the demonic stronghold that is on that mountain. And so you want to go back and watch that, because I don't need to talk about what she already talked about, because she taught it so eloquently. So you want to go back and listen to that. But what I want to say is, I know what God showed me, but from there up until this point, things started to look really bleak. I'm going to be honest. And I got to a place of worry, not worried about what would happen on the other side of the election, but just kind of worried, like, God, I thought you told me that the mountain was coming down, that it was crumbling. Like, I literally had this vision. And so I got so caught up in what was happening around me, or what I was seeing with my natural eye, that I put aside what God had spoken to me, what I saw in the spirit. And so I just want to pause and share that with you guys. No matter what you are facing, what you're dealing with right now, what the challenges may be in your life, hold on to what God told you. Hold on to what he showed you, because what he showed you is far above what you are seeing with your eye. It's far above that. And so you cannot get focused on what's happening around you, or what's even threatening to happen to you. But you have to be focused on what God said and what he showed you. And so, as I said, I remember that he told me that mountain was coming down, and the demonic strongholds. And let me just say this again, you want to go back and watch that. I can't reiterate it enough, because Ranisha did a really good job of teaching it. But there's a demonic stronghold that was literally, let me not say is sitting on that mountain of government, specifically here in the United States of America. And so you got to understand exactly what a stronghold is and what it is designed to do. So if you look up the definition of just a stronghold, and this is not even getting deep or spiritual, this is literally going to the dictionary and looking up what a stronghold is. There's 2 definitions. One is a place that has been fortified so as to protect it against attack. And they use in quotes, their mountain strongholds fell to enemy attack. Well, what's happening is this stronghold has been set up so that no forces, and I'm not talking about a person. I'm not talking about a person sitting on this mountain. I'm talking about a demonic stronghold. I'm not talking about Democratic. I'm not talking about Republican. I'm talking about a demonic stronghold has been set up on this mountain. And that stronghold is to protect the demonic forces and the demonic agendas that are coming forth from this mountain. The second definition says a place where a particular cause or belief is strongly defended or upheld. Ironically enough, in that parentheses, it said such as a Republican stronghold. Again, this is not about Republican versus Democratic. I'm not here to debate that today. I definitely have my views and my beliefs, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I'm here to talk about it from a spiritual sense. There is a demonic stronghold resting on that mountain. And what you got to know, because that stronghold has been put in place to fortify and to protect against enemy attack, and enemy attack is the kingdom. The kingdom is coming. As the words say, the kingdom suffered violence, but the violent take it by force, right? So we are the enemy that's trying to come against this demonic stronghold that is sitting on this mountain. Is sitting on this mountain. And one of the demonic strongholds that is clear to me that I can see is pride. And as a result of pride, and I'm not about to get into a deep lesson on spiritual warfare. Hopefully, if you are intrigued or interested to learn more, you go and you do the research. But because of pride, we see arrogance coming out. We see haughtiness. We see control and domination and contention. There's so much contention in our country because of the demonic stronghold that is sitting on the mountain of government. We see narcissism. We see selfishness. We see all types of greed. We see these things manifesting in the earth because of this demonic stronghold. But the one thing you got to understand is that we, the people, have the power to move the demonic stronghold. And so we've seen what happens in the natural when we rally together and we do what we have to do. What happens in the natural is we can outvote people who are under the influence of the demonic strongholds. We can vote them out. We can move them off the mountain, but we still have to deal with it in the spirit. And that's the message that I'm bringing to you today, that we got to still fight this thing. The battle is not over. There's still work to be done. And so the intercessors and the prophetic voices, you must arise in this hour. You must stand on your post because the work is not done. You got to understand that a demonic stronghold is put there to protect whatever the agenda is, to protect the plans, to protect the integrity of what the demonic forces are trying to do in that place. And so they're not going out without a fight. We've seen a lot of funny memes on social media about how Donald Trump is not going to lead without a fight. And I certainly believe that. We're already seeing the lawsuits come up and that type of thing. But we got to fight on the spiritual side. So I am a firm believer. Yes, people turned out. They went to the polls. They showed up. And let me speak to my brothers and sisters, y'all. This is for my black brothers and sisters. We show up constantly to save democracy when democracy does the least for us most of the time. Okay, so let me just put that out there. So shout out to you all who showed up in Detroit, who showed up in Philly, who showed up in Atlanta and those surrounding counties. Thank you. Thank you, because we made this happen. So I do believe that even with that was a battle that was first won in prayer. I believe that. I believe that what we see manifesting in the earth, when we see change, when we see progression, it has happened first in prayer. So shout out to the intercessors. I don't want you to get off your post. I don't want you to think that your work is in vain. Your work is just as important as the work of those who are out on the ground, who have boots on the ground and who are canvassing, who were knocking on doors and making sure that people went out to vote and making phone calls. Your work is just as important. Actually, it's even more important if you really want to know the truth, because you have the power to tap into heaven. You have God's ear to help to move and push the agenda that he's trying to carry out in the earth, right? So with that, and again, if you go back, I'm going to keep saying this, if you go back and watch Ranisha's video on Mountain of Government, she reads a piece of the Declaration of Independence. And I'm going to read it here too, because this is so key to the power that we have in the natural and the spiritual. So it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that are among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, from the consent of the governed. Let me say that again. They get their rights from the consent of the governed. That's so important, because I think so many people get into leadership positions and they get into these places. And I'm not just referring to the president, but any type of leadership position in government. And they forget that you get your rights from those who you are governing. Okay. So don't forget that, people. Remain with a servant's heart. That is what God is calling in this hour, that those who are in leadership, that they serve with a servant's heart, that they lead with a servant's heart, that when they are in those places of leadership, that what the people need and what the people desire is above what they need and what they desire. That's a servant's heart. So it goes on to say that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them seem most likely to affect safety and happiness. This is what you all have done, American people. Thank you so much. What you did was you abolished, you altered the government. That's what it says. We have the right. The people have the right to alter and abolish and institute new government so that it can affect your safety and your happiness. How many of you feel like your safety and your happiness was threatened under this demonic stronghold on the mountain of government that we were sitting on? I can't see you raising your hand, but if you look like me, you probably feel that way. I wanted to just share that with you because that's what we do in the natural, but it's also what we do in the spirit. We tap in and we go in and we're able to pull down these demonic strongholds that are sitting on these mountains. So again, as it pertains specifically to the mountain of government, intercessors, stay on your post. The battle is not done. And I'm going to tell you, it's not done because literally in the middle of the night, about 1 o'clock in the morning, God woke me up and he said to me, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I sat up like, God, what in the world? But let me tell you, that has really come into agreement and confirmed so many other words that I have heard from people connected to me. And here's the thing, that's not to scare you. That's not to get you all up in arms or anything like that, make you anxious. No, what it's supposed to do is to push you to pray so that you understand that this battle is not done. We see what has happened in the polls. We see that, but the battle is not done. It must still be fought in prayer. And so we must stay on our post. We must continue to war behind the scenes so that this stronghold is completely broken. It is shattered. God has promised that the mountain is coming down and it shall be re-erected. And it's so funny. I was reading Zechariah. I've been in Zechariah studying that book, and I came across this, and I know this is a scripture that we hear all the time because we say, not by might, not by power, but by my spirit. But let's read the entire little passage there. Well, verses 6 and 7. It says, "So he answered and said to me, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel. Not by might, not by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you shall become a plain, and he shall bring forth the capstone with shouts of grace to it." This mountain, they said, before you were a mountain, you're such a great mountain, but before Zerubbabel, in front of Zerubbabel, you're going to become a plain. That's how flattened you're going to be. And when I read that, the Lord said, this is exactly what I'm doing in these mountains that refuse to come into alignment with what I desire. They are being crushed. They are being flattened, and I shall re-erect them. And what you got to know about Zerubbabel is that he was given the responsibility of rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem. Okay. And I'm sharing this directly from my study Bible, guys. You got to get you a study Bible if you don't have one, because it really helps to give you context and to break down things if you don't understand what's going on. But anyway, Zerubbabel was given the responsibility of rebuilding the temple, and the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, they were giving the moral and the spiritual encouragement to keep the work going. But Zerubbabel made sure that it actually happened. And so as the work was being completed, the prophets encouraged Zerubbabel and told him that a time would come when spiritual apathy and oppression would be forever abolished. there's that word again, abolished. And so that's what we see. So in this hour, these mountains are being flattened. And there we have even the prophets. Prophets, you have a very important job. You have your prophetic voice. Again, go back and watch Ranisha's video because she spoke about that, how the prophetic voice goes out. And that's a part of these mountains coming down. So we see that Zerubbabel went on to complete his job. But again, it didn't happen by anyone's might. It didn't happen by anyone's power. It happened by the Spirit. And that's what's important here. In this battle, it's going to be won in the Spirit first. That election was won in the Spirit first. And then we saw the manifestation in the natural. This uphill battle that we are facing, this completely abolishing the demonic stronghold that is on the mountain of government, it's going to happen first in the Spirit, not by our might, not by our power, but by His Spirit, by His Spirit. So I'm really encouraging you all to tap in. Do not get weary in well doing. Do not come off of your post. This is still a battle. We still got some things to face. It's still an uphill battle. So I could get deeper into exactly what that means, but God has not given me permission to do that. And you guys know I don't speak about stuff that He has not released me to say. So what I will encourage you to do is to go to Him in your own prayer time and say, okay, God, how do I attack this? What does this look like? Give me the strategies. Give me the words to say. What am I supposed to be doing? How am I supposed to be praying? Okay. So, understand that it is only through God's Spirit that anything of lasting value is accomplished. So we have to tap in. This is about us tapping in. This is about, in this hour, the prophetic voices arising and declaring what is to come. The intercessor standing on the wall and praying against, warring in the Spirit. This is a spiritual warfare battle, guys. We're in a battle. And but God has already promised. He has already promised that the mountain of government, the demonic stronghold, it is being flattened. It's a great mountain now, but it is being flattened. It will be like a plain. That's what it says in Zechariah 4:6-7. It's going to be flat like a plain. Okay, so it's coming down. Change is coming, but we have to stay on our battle, on our post. So I really encourage you to understand that it may get a little worse before it gets better, but God has promised that restoration is coming. He is going to restore order. He is going to restore order. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. That's the game. Look, stay on your post, do your job, do not let up. I know it seems like we got a quick reprieve, but there's still work to be done. There is still work to be done, and you are the ones that He's calling to do the work. So do your work in the Spirit. And again, do not discount your position in the kingdom. It's so important. You may not see your work on the outside. You may not get the accolades that those who do the work on the outside get, but know that your reward is in heaven. Your reward is great, and God is pleased. It is of great value to Him, and He is pleased. Let me leave it at that. He's pleased with the work you're doing and with how you've stayed on your position and you stayed on your post. So guys, be encouraged. Know that greater days are coming. I wish I had a better message for you. I kind of feel like this is kind of like one of those messages that no one wants to hear, but hey, it's going to get greater later, guys. And we're on the right track. So let's just keep that momentum. Let's keep that momentum. Remember, consistency breeds success. So if we come down now, we may undo some work. So stay on your post, stay committed, and just stand and see the glory of the Lord. He already promised it. That mountain is coming down. It shall be flattened like a plain. Okay. So hold on to that. That's all the game I got for you guys today. I love you guys so much. I do. I'm not going to say that I'll see you here same time next week, because as you guys can see, I've been missing episodes here and there. And it's just kind of been because I've been waiting on the Lord to speak. And if He don't talk to me, if He doesn't say, go say this, I don't say anything. So I'll be back at some point when he gives me something else to say. Actually, I'll be back next week. I do know that I will be back next week because I already have the word for you. God has already given me a download. Something really incredible happened, and I was able to glean some information and some wisdom. So look forward to that. That'll be a better message for you. If this one was a little hard to swallow, that one will be you'll enjoy that one. That one's a happy pill. So make sure you come back next week. I love you guys so much. Remember, God puts us up on the good game because he wants us to win. We are winning, y'all. We won. We out here winning. Black women, we are out here winning. Okay. We got a seat at the table at vice presidency. That's major, y'all. So remember, he puts us up on a good game because he wants us to win. Stay your position, guys. Stay on your post. I love you, and I'll be back. It's your girl, Kristen R. Harris, and I'm out. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of God Put Me Up On Game. Make sure you follow us on social media at God Put Me Up On Game and at Kristen R. Harris. We'll see you next week.